Hi, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we will be discussing whether we're in for a very wet summer and how we have been handling the weather so far. So this last couple of weeks the weather has been a little bit miserable. It's not been the nicest. So it's been very hard to get anything done outside. We are mainly kind of tidying areas up, weeding because of the bad weather and the little dry spell that we had. The weeds have really come back with a vengeance, so we're trying to keep on top of them. When I do weed, I do try and just pick a small section because it can be really overwhelming when you see like all these weeds coming up and they're just taking over the place. So I mowed our little bit of lawn out the front, well, out the back of the house, but the front of where the caravan is. So that was cleared. We put that on the compost, so that's great to break down and be part of the compost. Today I've been clearing a little bit of what are the wood we stacked when we first moved on the property and cleared some trees. We stacked some wood at the side of the driveway, so I've been taking that out because it's not really drying very well because it sits lower than the field next to us. So I'm moving it up the land and putting it on top of stacks that we already have that have already started drying out, which should hopefully mean that that will dry out eventually as well and we can use it over the winter to burn. I've also been clearing weeds in the driveway because we have got a little bank that we've planted a few bits in, but I think we're going to need to move those. We're a little bit worried that when the build starts on the house that the driveway is probably going to be quite a busy area, so we want to try and clear as much of it as possible before they start, which will be very soon. Other than that, we have been basically just trying to build up our compost stores. We've been using the greenery that we've been pulling and cutting back. We have been putting the leaf mulch that was collected in the autumn on there as well. Obviously cardboard in between each layer, and we have a connection with the local coffee shop. The owner there brings us coffee grounds from there, so they don't go to waste either. They go on our compost and are a great source of nitrogen, so we're very grateful for that. So far, with the issues we've been having on the land with water collecting in certain areas, the only option we've really had is to try and drain the water through channels that have kind of meandered through the garden and gone to the lowest point. We're hoping that once the plants are a bit more established and our trees are a bit bigger, that the land will kind of right itself, I suppose, and the drainage issues won't be quite so much of an issue. But obviously everything is very new on this land. The land was compacted, so I'm not entirely sure if we've kind of caused a bit of this issue because of the compaction of the soil. It's not been draining as freely as it was before, and we also have completely scraped back the sort of layer of grass and weeds that were on the top layer, so that would have been a huge benefit to keeping the drainage on this land not so much of an issue. We've obviously removed that and put our own plants and things in, but they've taken time to establish, so hopefully over time the drainage issue will kind of improve. We've got a few other little tricks up our sleeve that we want to try and work throughout the garden, but yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens for now, and hope that we have a little bit of a dry spell. So here in Ireland we have a lot of clay soil, which basically means that the clay and the soil itself is made up of very, very tiny particles, and when it gets wet it kind of clumps together and the water doesn't freely flow through it as easily as if it was a sandy soil, for example, or a loamy soil, which is what you'd ideally want. So we're hoping that by mulching every year, using our own compost and adding organic matter into our soil, that this will improve the drainage over the coming years. By adding organic matter, we are breaking up those small particles of clay, we're mixing it in with larger particles, and then the water that lands on the soil can flow a bit more freely throughout that soil and drain off easier. We're hoping that this is going to help over the coming years, but obviously immediately it's not really a short-term fix. It is a long-term fix, something we're going to have to continue to work on to improve our soil. So for now we're just using these drains. We are going to try a couple of other things, and if you have any other suggestions in the comments, we will try and give them a go and report back to you if they are successful as well. So for now we're just having to make do with our very damp garden and hope for a little bit of a dry spell at some point in June, hopefully. We have tried to put a few more sort of, I guess, structural or semi-structural pieces in, including bits in the veg garden to define some of the beds. We can't put all of them in where we want them because we need access to get to the tree stumps at the back. The tree stumps at the back have started to be cut, and on the next dry weekend our guy who's coming to do that is going to be back to do the lot, so that's a huge step. We're doing this kind of sundial style bed in our veg plot. We've only done about a third of it that we would actually like, partially because I have things that are ready to go in the ground and I needed somewhere to put them, and partially just because we were getting so impatient with wanting to have some bits done in our veg plot that we decided to use these timber slats just for now to define the edges of the borders of the beds. We've got a huge pile of wood to chip at the back here, so once that is chipped we'll be able to define the edges a bit more after we put the wood chip down for paths, and then we'll probably get a bit of gravel in to do the main path connecting the ornamental and the production garden. We've currently just got a stump to kind of mark the center at the minute, just like a pencil to mark it for now, just so we had a point that we could do the dial from. But here there is going to be a tree of some sort. We've still not decided yet because we want it to be quite a show-stopping tree. I have one or two in mind, but they're quite small, so we might have to wait for them to come up. But in the meantime, it's just the pencil there to mark where it's going to go, so that that will be the center point. The plan is to do a mixture of vegetables and flowers here this season, just to get some perennials in, so we have things set up for next year, so we can put some winter crops in as well, because we have kind of missed the whole veg growing season at this point. A few little things can go in for the winter, but realistically we've kind of missed the main part of it. And then at least if we can get our perennial flowers in and get some things started, this bed should at least be a bit more settled by the time we come round to next season and next spring. Hopefully the other half, which is currently completely empty, will be set up before the end of the autumn, so that we can mulch these beds, we can have them ready to plant in for the spring, and we can have it a bit more set up. Once the tree trunks have been cut down here and we've stacked the wood and moved the wood that we want out of the way, and we've rotivated and leveled this area, this is where we are going to be putting our big polytunnel, which I cannot wait for because I am dying to use such a big space. We have a lot of things that we need to put in there, so the sooner that gets in, the better. And there's the rain again. It's never too far away at the minute, so I'm going to go in. You've probably noticed that when we were out looking at where the veg plot is, because it was such a bare open space, a lot of weed seeds have started to come up there. They're still quite young at the minute, so we can keep some control over them. And I have been weeding through other parts of the garden as well. Like, this is going to be something that's probably going to be happening over the next few seasons, because it was a big grassy field initially, so there was a lot of grass seed, and there was a lot of weeds kind of coming through it because it just wasn't really maintained for a long time. So so those things are going to come up. They are going to be something that we work with, but no more than any other gardener deals with. I try not to use chemicals because I have pets, and we want to be beneficial to insects and other plants. Weeds for me, really, they're just a plant in the wrong place. They're a plant that comes up where you probably don't really want it. And some of the weeds are great. I love dandelions. Like, I'm quite happy to have dandelions in the garden because they're great for pollinators, and my chickens love to eat dandelions as well. So when they do get quite big, I like to try and pull them up, hopefully by the taproot, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. And then I feed them to my hens, who absolutely love them. So I don't mind the dandelions at all. Other than that, it's just a case at the minute of just trying to tidy a few things up, try and keep on top of the grass and the weeds that are coming up, as we did have a bit of a hot patch there. And then it's got wet again, so there was a big boost of growth from everything that, including everything in our ornamental garden as well. Like, everything's taken really well and is thriving at the minute. So yeah, we're delighted. You can see there's a lot of things coming up. So yeah, be filling out and looking lovely soon. So yeah, other than that, at the minute, it is just a case of waiting for other people to come in and do the jobs for us. Like I said, the timber should be gone soon enough, and then we can hopefully arrange for our polytunnel to be put in. Regarding the house renovation, we've had good news. We are probably going to be starting that in the next few weeks. The contractors are just waiting for one of their guys to finish the work that he's currently doing, which will take him a couple of weeks, and then they're going to start cracking on with our extension and house renovation. So that is super exciting as well. It's going to take a step back before it comes forward because there's quite a lot of work that needs doing, and some of it isn't particularly strictly very good. But it's going to be great to see it get started, and for that area to be to have a bit of activity in it. And yeah, can't wait to see that come along. Well, the sun seems to have come out for a brief while, so I'm going to crack on with some jobs while it is dry. Thanks so much for joining us in this video, and we shall see you in the next one.